We're live. I don't hear you now. Yeah, I'm
What's up?
not.
Welcome. What's up, Nick? How you
Now I'm
doing?
here. Yeah,
What's up,
yeah.
David?
Your audio cut for me for a while, but now I'm hearing you.
All right. If it ends up cutting, let me know.
All right.
Hey,
Oh,
Topi. What's
there's a
up,
few
Caleb? How
people.
you doing? What's up, everybody? Welcome.
What's up, Mick?
Welcome.
Dude, Mick's is a great guy.
I love Nick,
You
man. I love
you've met
Nick.
him already. Yeah,
Yeah, we're kind of familiar with each other a little bit.
awesome. And
Sweet.
I'm figuring that these are all your people mostly, besides Mick and David. I think he started following me a while.
Yo, yeah. I recognize Caleb. I talked to him a little bit. Mick. Yeah, we both know Mick. David. I don't know. Do you
Mick,
know David?
yeah, Mick. David just started to follow me. I think a few days back.
Okay.
What's up, David? Dude, Mick, everyone wants to meet you. That's the
What's up,
truth.
Jesse? How you
Everyone wants
doing?
to. There's Jesse. How are you,
Yeah, I've seen
man?
you on live with him a little bit. Nice. Okay.
Jesse is great. I'm excited for the next steps on his project. He just did the Future Proof Creator Summit. It was fucking amazing.
Dude, insane. I know. I remember I first saw him with Danco, of course, and I just seen him blossom ever since. It's honestly kind of see how insane the journey can take you just
Yeah,
by taking that
dude,
risk.
you guys have to connect. Honestly,
Yeah, I spoke and texted him a couple of times, but I have to reach out to him more often. So yeah, all right. Do you want to start with a question first, or you got anything on your mind right now?
yeah. So basically, um, I met Anthony. I don't remember exactly. I think you DM'd me once and I didn't respond. And then you DM'd me again
Yeah,
about, I think it was a newsletter on something around minimalism or Steve Jobs. Maybe that got your
yeah,
attention. And
yeah,
then we kind of, you know, um, kind of hit off on this minimalism and Steve Jobs passion. I think that we both share.
yeah. Absolutely.
Um, so how did this passion kind of begin for you? Would you say for
I think we're
minimalism?
minimalism,
Yeah,
specifically minimalism.
yeah, minimalism and creativity. I think those two things kind of both.
Yeah, I'll start with minimalism first. Or actually, I'll start with creating first. Just like that's like the beginning of my journey. For me, when I was 19 years old, I was like scrolling on TikTok, and I stumbled upon this guy reading aloud the text from Marcus Aurelius. He had like the physical book. He would read aloud the quotes, and like it would be like 30 seconds. I'm like, whoa, like this hit hard. And
Yeah,
so that kind of made me want to follow him for a bit for like, and so for the next 7 days, I would watch all of his TikToks, just kind of him reading aloud all these like stoic quotes. And it just made a really big impact on me. And that like kind of made me so interested into stoicism. So I was like, man, I gotta get that book. So that next week I took myself to Barnes and Nobles, which is a bookstore, and I bought that exact same copy which was the Penguin House version of Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. And so ever since that point, I was about around 19. For about like the next 2 years, I went on this journey of like self improvement. I would read all these books, Atomic Habits, the Creative
mm,
Act, and it
yeah,
just kind of like any like when you get into self improvement, you just read all these like popular books about whatever you're trying to solve your own problems on. And so that made me really love just learning and improving myself. From there, I realized like my friend, they would come to me for advice, or I would listen to their problems, and how easily I was able to. I realized like, dude, like just do XYZ. It was so easy for me to just solve their problems. I think they were overthinking it, and so I was like, I realized like, dude, like what I know can change people's lives. What I know can change the course of anyone's life, and I feel like it would be a disservice for myself to not share what I know. And
mm,
that's when in July 2024, I got dropped out of a class in summer. So when it was like around June or July. So I had about like 30 days free. And I was like, I gotta make use of this time. I gotta use it wisely. And in those 30 days, I was listening to Dan Coe, and he's the one who started kind of sparking that fire for me to like use your wisdom, write, you know, future proof yourself. I was like, man, I gotta. That's when I started writing. That's kind of my journey as a curator. But tell me about yours. Let's first get into like the how you started off as a creator, and then we'll jump with minimalism.
Dude, it's so funny because I could say that I started as well with a bit of stoicism.
Yeah,
Um, I'm not sure if you know, like this recent years of creating, it was definitely more self improvement oriented. But when I first started creating, really, I had only like 10 years. Um, so I basically like just picked a random video. It was a kind of a Minecraft animation, and I just
yeah,
put a soundtrack on it and posted it as a YouTube video. And then ever since, you know, it was kind of fascinating for me that you could actually do things. You could actually like build your own things or tell stories with the things that you had.
yeah,
So, it was just a video, but I could, package it with an intro and try to frame it a certain way. And then I started doing like stick figure animations, and I got a bit into Cinema 4D as well, which is a kind of a 3D animation software. Um, so that's kind of a bit of how I started. But then when I was in high school, I started also getting very interested about philosophy, stoicism, particularly. I won't be able to show it, but right in my elbow, I have a memento mori
okay,
tattoo. Yeah.
yeah,
And yeah, I guess that also sparked a bit of interest in self improvement. And it was fairly similar that I had a few friends coming up to me for some reason, like asking life questions, and I'm like, dude, who am I? But okay,
yeah,
I'm seeing. Like, it seems that that's what's happening there in your life, and they were like, dude, how did I not see this? And it's a interesting thing, right? That happens with friends.
yeah,
Um, so I guess I've always been creating, but mainly like on and off. I've never been really much consistent up until like this year, really.
yeah. It's kind of crazy how well I was on and off too. I think as a kid, I would make a lot of origami figures. I would just look up YouTube tutorials, just make all these crazy paper artifacts, like a paper frog. I remember I made like this paper boomerang. It actually worked. I throw it, came back to me, but
A
it's kind of
paper
insane.
boomerang,
Yeah, yeah.
dude. I didn't know physics could do that.
I didn't know either. It's kind of insane how much crazy origami stuff you can just create. But yeah, I mean, with minimalism, I think that started when I just started to notice how there's so much overwhelmingness in my life, whether it be like example, like materialistic things, my writing process. It just got to the point like, man, like I didn't systematize it. I didn't have a structure. It didn't have any like backbone or skeleton to it. So I just like that's when I started like, dude, like I'm I think it started when I delegated too much thinking to AI. I'm like, dude, I can't keep doing this. I'm asking AI to do this, X, Y, Z, and I'm everywhere. And when I'm everywhere, I'm nowhere. And there was really no structure. So I had to figure out a good system to make sure everything's kind of ordered and have like a structured
Mm.
thinking to it. But
So
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so your approach to minimalism, it was more towards critical thinking. You felt like you weren't able to think clearly,
I think
sort
so.
of.
Yeah, I think that's one aspect to it. I think especially with like the editing process, like what could be said can be distilled down to like say one sentence, or even
Mm.
like focus. Like you can't like be focusing on 12 things all at once. It has to be one thing or like three things. Or just I think it's a lot of like for me, it's a lot of just subtraction, just making sure it's like I'm only having what's essential. I'm only focusing on the essence of it, not over here having 47 tabs open when I only should have like three tabs open. I don't know if that makes sense or not. That's kind
Yeah,
of like
it
my
does.
approach to minimalism. Like
Yeah,
for
it does.
writing, my philosophy, critical thinking, yeah, just or even like just how I go about like learning too. But yeah, what about
Yeah,
you? How do you approach minimalism?
dude. So my journey with minimalism, it's kind of funny because it really started from a more materialistic standpoint than creative standpoint.
Yeah.
In 2019, I was still in high school and I started listening to this podcast called The Minimalists.
Hmm.
Don't know if you ever heard of them, but
Sounds
they have
familiar.
a Netflix documentary, I think, or two. It's pretty interesting. And I started listening to them and I just got hooked somehow. I don't know if because I already had that, you know, I was interested in philosophy and like questioning things. And like once you start to understand that, you know, there are a lot of social things that um, the market or people around you or social media will tell you that you should want, but they're actually like non-essential. You start to actually question like, why are you telling me that I need, you know, all these things if like I don't really need them, like I don't need for my survival or I don't need for my, happiness. And they were very focused on kind of happiness and satisfaction and taking the things that were non-important from your life. So it was kind of funny. Like I tear down my whole wardrobe and kind of donated most of my clothes and only stick to like black for a while. It was kind of funny. And didn't happen. It didn't help that I shaved my head at home as well.
Yeah. Oh, you did?
Because,
I look, you
yeah,
want to do that, but like, I don't know if I'm gonna do
because
that
of
soon.
no man, it was terrible. I genuinely looked like a monk because it was like right at the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I need to cut my hair. So, and I shaved it and it was terrible. So I was looking like a monk, dude, like meditating,
Heck yeah.
uh, throwing my clothes away and trying to figure out, what's essential for me. Like, what do you actually want to do with your life? I think that's kind of um, was one of the questions that sparked minimalism for me.
Heck yeah. That like really quickly on like you going bald. I feel like I have a bump on the top of my head that I got when I was like in first grade. I was under a basketball court thing. Somebody decided to shoot a shot. They made it, hit my head really hard, and now I got like a bump in the middle. So I'm afraid if I shave it, I feel like I'm gonna have like just like a weird deformed kind of top of my head.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
dude,
yeah.
you won't be able to see it. So
That's true.
only
That's
if
true.
only if you're too online. Yeah,
That's true.
Jesse loves being bald. He even
I
got
bet.
some comments recently. I saw
Really?
a guy was trying to say something like, "Oh, but you can grow hair or something." Trying to hate on Jesse. I think it's kind of funny.
What the heck? Yeah, like with the I learned about like kind of distilling down to the essence from Steve Jobs. Like he's, oof, man. I watched they did a movie. I don't know if you know a movie on him called Jobs. It's on Netflix, and
Yeah,
it was so impactful for me. It literally like sparked that interest. Like man, I gotta let me like re-watch the episode on Steve Jobs from the Founders Podcast. Like I gotta rewatch it. I feel like the first round I didn't like really learn the lessons. So I was like, I just went on a rampage, just learning a lot from Steve Jobs. But I saw this image of him from like 19, I don't know the exact date, maybe like 1990 to like 2010. He wore the exact same thing every single time. Just a black T-shirt
yeah,
from Issey Miyake and some denim jeans and like New Balances. That just kind of shows you like how he's just always focused on making wonderful things.
yeah. What was the thing that, like, how did you first got into contact with, not got into contact with Steve Jobs because he's dead, but
Yeah.
how did you first get to know him?
I think at first I wanted nothing to do with biographies. I thought like, who the heck wants to read a biography? Who the heck
Yeah,
wants to read this fat book of a guy or a dead guy? At the time, I didn't
yeah,
know like how valuable I was, and so until one day, I just one of my a creator. His name's the Creator, and he posted about Elon Musk's episode from the Founders Podcast. And I think ever since listening to his episode, that exposed me to Steve Jobs' episode. Okay, I looked at it and was like, okay, you know, Steve Jobs, he seems familiar. He's like pretty popular. Let me take a listen to him. And that's when my initial curiosity got started. But I feel like I didn't really understand. I didn't really like internalize his lessons up until I started to realize that I overcomplicated a lot of my writing. I was using so many fancy words. There's just too much jargon. And I was like, okay, you know, Steve Jobs said like, you know, make something wonderful and only focus on making things. I don't know how the quote goes, but you know, just make things of its essence. And that kind of like, okay, like that made me like go on a rampage of wanting to learn more about what he says. And that's kind of like when I started to really get into Founders Podcast. But I can't
Mm,
really say exactly why or how, but Founders, David Center is how I started getting into him a lot. So I know that didn't
okay.
answer your question perfectly, but that's kind of how I got like
No, no,
started
you
going
did.
into it.
And like, were you always kind of familiar with like entrepreneurship? Because Founders Podcast is like basically a lot of entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
and a lot of people, as I see right now, they kind of have a anti-entrepreneurial kind of vision of the world, or like anti-billionaire or millionaire. There's a lot of chaos in
Hmm.
this area right now.
Yeah.
So were you always inclined to like seeing things from a perspective of an entrepreneur, or was that something that you acquired?
I think slowly it was acquired for sure. I think I began to become a skeptic a little bit. Like, why is it that we have to follow this certain script or this certain code or this certain operating system? And that's kind of sparked. I was like, okay, why is it that these people are more successful than these other certain individuals? That's when I started to question everything and how to what we make money, to how we what means to live a good life, how to live holistically, to what we eat, our diet, the information we consume, to anything and everything. That's kind of how began to start thinking like kind of like an entrepreneur and just kind of obtaining these philosophies of different big thinkers. But how do you think? Tell me more about how you do you think you apply like you naturally are inclined to be like an entrepreneur, or how do you think about that?
Dude, I think like in retrospect, yes. Because I see entrepreneurs and creative people as basically the same.
Hmm.
They're problem solvers,
For sure.
like in its essence. Um, and like ever since I was a kid, I think I never mentioned that in any of my Substack yet. But I was thinking about this the other day. But like when I was 6 years old, my uncle, he would come home and he would bring a lot of electronics home, and he would fix them.
Yeah.
So it was really funny because he wasn't very good at fixing things, but he would always find a way. So he would bring home like a microwave or a toaster, a
Oh, dang.
laptop, and a
Okay.
PC, and he would be
Yeah.
able to like tear things apart and put them back together, and somehow they would work. And I remember that I was always kind of curious on how things worked on the inside. So I would always kind of sit beside him and trying to help any way I could. Of course, I was 6 years old, so I can, understand much. But like ever since, I kind of got this sense that like seeing the inside of a computer, and that it wasn't kind of this magic box that just you know was working there. Like it was actually built by someone.
Hmm.
That kind of changed my perspective on the things that I saw around. And I think that's kind of, you know talking as an entrepreneur, kind of that started, realizing that the things that exist, they were built and not they exist because they're there in the world. No, someone built them. And then when I started drawing and learning music, I learned that I could you know acquire the skills to build something or to create something. So I guess, like, in retrospect, these dots kind of connect. But when I was a teenager, I didn't think of being an entrepreneur at all. Like, I didn't even think that
Same
you
here.
know
Yeah.
that was kind of a possibility. It was just I kind of got pushed towards a more entrepreneurial side, just because I couldn't fucking decide what I wanted to do.
Same
You
here.
know?
We're told to like figure our life at 18. Like I had zero clue what I wanted to do. So
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy. I think that's entrepreneurs is the key, to be honest. Solving problems,
yeah,
creating, making stuff. Like we just make things. It's kind of insane.
yeah. And it's so funny because, like, how can you figure out what you want to do with your life if you never actually made anything? Like,
Hmm.
when you actually create something, you get instant feedback from the world, if that's useful or
Yeah.
not, or if that works or not. And then, like, you're expected to graduate from high school and get into the college and suddenly find a career that you like, even if you never done it. So that that was a big problem for me. At least I was lucky that I was already kind of creating videos, and I
Yeah.
had gotten a few graphic design freelances when
Heck
I
yeah.
was in high school. Yeah, so I kind of got a sense of wanting to pursue freelance, or that it was possible. But dude, a lot of people, like, I have a friend, and, like, I love him. He's a childhood friend of mine,
Yeah.
but he is now, after he graduated from economics, pursuing his career in tennis.
Hmm.
And, like, we
Oh,
always talked about, like, him becoming a tennis player or a tennis coach or whatever, ever since we were kids, right?
yeah.
So it was always kind of his dream, and he knew that he kind of wanted to pursue something sports related, but he had to go through all this um, arc of going to a college that he didn't really want to pursue a career in. And that's mainly because we get kind of pushed to really choose something really quickly. But it seems that it's not true for everyone.
Yeah, we're always told to like we're always, I mean, especially in school, we're just cramming literally unimportant stuff. Like I cannot recall anything I learned in algebra, anything that I've been taught in school. The way I've learned through life is reading, actually making stuff, creating, and kind of like adopting the student's mindset, not necessarily like in a school system way, but like constantly making mistakes and learning from people kind of above you. That's what reading does, at least for me. And listening to biographies and stuff like that. But it's kind of insane how, yeah, we don't like take a lot of action. We're told to memorize instead of to understand. Yeah, we're just kind of guided around on the wrong path. That's why a lot of people think in this certain way. A lot of people don't think independently. They don't question a lot of things. They're not a skeptic. They don't question the system. Or like, why do I have to follow this certain step? But yeah.
What do you think that is, in your opinion? Like, if you had to go back in your own life and try to think of the point that kind of things flipped for you, like you went from someone that was kind of a passive consumer to an
Yeah.
active creator. What
Hmm.
do you think was the thing that kind of um, sparked that?
Like the pivot point, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, coming from a consumer mindset to like a creator mindset. I think for me it was definitely getting into college. I know deep down like I went to it just for the sake of doing it. That's what everybody was doing, just for the sake of, I guess, getting a degree and getting a job or something, living comfortably. But I know deep down it just didn't feel right. It didn't sit right with me. I just knew that deep down I was meant for more, that I was meant to create. I just didn't like the certain lifestyle that a consumer or a school that it gave me. Spend
Mm.
hours doing work for others, doing assignments that didn't move the needle, right? I think I took about like I think I'd say maybe 10 classes, and I think the only one that really made an impact on me was public speaking. I feel like that's something that anyone can, can use it in real life. But I think the pivot started when I began to realize like, okay, in 60 years, what do I want my life to look like? Is it really having a degree, having a corporate job? And I told myself, no, that's literally what I do not want. And the pivot started when I was like, okay, I started to question what made these people successful. Why is it that they're in the position that they are? Why is it that, you know, okay, what I'm trying to say is like, I don't need another business degree, or like the world doesn't need another person with a business degree, but the world definitely needs another person to solve a specific problem, right? These companies run the world. Amazon. Oh shoot, what the heck is happening with my laptop? Sorry. I don't know what happened.
No worries.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm still here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Your video kind of
Lagged.
lagged a bit, but yeah, your voice is fine.
Okay. Okay. But yeah, I just started to, apply the first principles. Like, why is it that these people are more successful than other people? Why are these people more happy than other people? And that's when I realized it's just the creators that run the world. Creators, entrepreneurs, companies, all that jazz. And that's when I began to just start writing, creating content, making stuff, publishing stuff. Even if I knew it sucked, I just had to at least let it exist. But that's kind of where I started to pivot. I just started questioning like the successful people versus the unsuccessful people, the life I want to live versus the life I do not want to live. Just kind of like Danico's framework of like the anti-vision versus a vision.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
that's kind of where
And
like it kind of started for me.
and like what would you say that you see with successful people that made you kind of attracted to that lifestyle? Was it like freedom? Was it like money, purpose, meaning in some sort of way? Or do you see like a more civilizational meaning to being a creator or an inventor or an entrepreneur?
Hmm. Honestly, I don't have an answer to that question, but what I can say is that they didn't need like the regular script that everyone follows. They didn't need a degree to become that really successful person that they've become. So it just taught me like I don't need to follow this path. I don't need to kind of be like every other white sheep. I could become the black sheep or just do something different. I think I just stemmed from a lack of fulfillment for sure. Like I want something more with my life. I don't want to settle or live a mediocre life almost. But
Mm.
where in your life kind of did you end up going to school or college or any like of that stuff?
No, no,
No.
I didn't. Yeah, I skipped it. Too
Okay.
much of my mom's frustration for sure.
Yeah, you saved yourself a lot of time for sure.
Dude, yeah. I mean, I the grass is always greener on the other side, right?
Right.
I do think there are a lot of benefits that I didn't get going
Hmm.
to college, and one of them is it's mainly like networking.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Uh, I've seen a lot of good coming from college in terms of meeting the right people, getting the right opportunities, being in the right places, and
Hmm.
like at least for me, it was kind of a solo um, journey, assim, a solo game in a sense for a while. Like I didn't really meet other people that were interested in the things that I was interested until like Substack, really, you know.
Yeah.
So it was fairly recent that I got to like connect with other people that had a similar interest with me. So in that sense, I think college is fine. But
Yeah.
I know I just couldn't like I can't sit through like a semester on one topic, for example. Like I can never do that.
No,
It's
yeah.
I
It's
I
torture.
I remember that in school, dude. I would get incredibly like anxious because I couldn't like I didn't understand why I had to learn um, a whole lot of stuff, and then I would get tested in like 1% of what I learned. So like, what about the other 99%? Like,
Hmm.
did that just go to waste because I'm not using that in my life? And so like
Exactly.
that was one of the reasons why I just couldn't get myself into to college and like follow someone else's structure. My learning structure is very, it's kind of messy sometimes. I'll admit
Hmm.
that, but it's not that linear. It's much more need to know in a sense.
Yeah,
What
self-education.
was your question? I don't remember your question. Sorry, I kind of
I don't remember, honestly. I think
yeah, yeah.
something about entrepreneurship or some schools or something like that. But what do you think is like your biggest three problems as a creator that you face?
Mm. Dude, like one of the recurring themes in my life as a creator was definitely perfectionism, or I thought it was perfectionism. In the sense of the reason I never really got a lot of followers was because I kept like rebuilding my brand every single
Mm,
time I thought it wasn't enough. So I would always kind of have another idea or um, just think that what I was creating wasn't enough. Then I would delete my channel and create a new one. And I always thought of myself kind of as a perfectionist, but it wasn't until like very recently that I understood that my perfectionism wasn't about what I was creating in a sense. It was only about how I was going to be perceived.
for
So it
sure.
was much more of a vulnerability issue for me. But perfectionism was a big one for me. Um,
Yeah, that barrier of like just getting past of like I remember well, I started off on posting on X. In that first post, I was so scared, like, oh, people are gonna see what I have to say, you know. But in reality, like nobody I got a comment from a spam bot. I'm like, bro, nobody cares.
yeah.
For me at least. But yeah, I mean me too. Like recently, I just am I'm like I'm just a production machine now. I'm like I'm just making. I don't care how bad it is because of course you have to have 100 bad ideas to have one good idea. That's kind of like
Mm.
same here. Like recently, just kind of escaping the mind of perfectionism. It's a trap. It's the biggest trap. We wait around for
And
inspiration, motivation, and lightning strike.
how are you escaping perfectionism in your creative process?
I think just capturing as much as I can, whatever comes to mind, and not even having a second thought, not even thinking about it, just writing it down, capturing it, creating without thinking twice. That's pretty much it for me.
Mm. Yeah, not judging the idea before actually doing it.
Yeah, I think it's easy to just like obviously like write it in a Notion template or a Notion app, but it's like a different thing to just publish and publish and publish because obviously like I don't know long form essay. If you just produce blob all day long, you just produce, and obviously that's a problem. But for
Mm.
example, I see long form as like an edited like perfect process, but for short form it's like a testing ground where I just shoot out whatever idea I get. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah.
I do tend to have that approach as well. Like one thing that I found really useful is basically making Substack my notes app. So like every time I have an idea, just kind of make a note about it, and hopefully I also save it to my notes app so I can revisit
Mhm.
it later. But it's yeah, I mentioned that to you, right? That I was kind of trying to do this challenge. I'm
Oh
still
yeah.
trying. It's really, really difficult right now because of a few pivots that I'm doing in my brand and personal life.
Hmm.
But like just the simple act of creating volume first, and then you kind of subtracting the things that didn't felt right, or didn't really work, and then you're finding the things that did work, and then you double
Hmm.
down on that, is like
Exactly.
such a life hack that I
For
wish I kind
sure.
of knew sooner. I remember that when I did have a few YouTube channels in the past, I would spend so much time like creating a perfect YouTube video, but it turns out that like people don't really care if it's perfect,
Hmm.
you know? Like one thing that I realized with my clothing brand, it's that
Oh, you have a clothing brand? I didn't know that.
yeah,
Heck yeah.
yeah, yeah, I can get into that. But
Yeah.
people don't really see your creative process. They don't know every single decision that you rejected, or that you
Hmm.
scratched, and in the end, all they see is this perfect finished idea, and that's
The end
it. That's
result.
it
Yeah.
for them. you know they don't see all the things that you had to go through, or all the problems that you faced, and that you had to just adapt the idea to the problem. And that was incredibly like revealing for me. um, and it's one of these things, right? Like, you don't learn that unless you actually publish, or unless you actually create something and present to the world.
Yeah. It's like the art of like, people think that you're like amazing or like the most smartest person, but in reality, you're just a vigorous editor. Like it's like, I'm sure, maybe I don't know if you already seen, but I had this note about complexity and simplicity. It's like you're trying to sound complex, but in reality, you just need to simplify. And then that's like,
Yeah,
you need to be at first. There's like an immense amount of complexity, and so you create like so many different iterations or so many different drafts, and then you get that like simplified final draft. So there's like the readers don't see that all the arguments you had to go through, all the vigorous editing, all the research, all the writing you had to do. They see the end result. But that's kind of how I see complexity versus simplicity.
yeah. I just changed my bio to think slow, build fast, and stay relevant. And that's kind
Heck
of
yeah.
this exact process that you mentioned. Like, you have the time to um, think through things and think clearly. And once you think clearly, like, the act of creation should be the minimum amount of time possible between like idea and execution, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
And that's something um, that was definitely like one of my biggest learnings, like having that clarity on exactly what you want to do, or exactly what problem you're solving, and then like just diminishing the gap between that idea and execution is super valuable.
Hmm.
um
Yeah. You have to remove all the like the fluff so that the your creation or your art can have its personality. It's kind of how I like to
yeah,
something like that stuck out to me with Rick Rubin. That's what I learned from him.
personality. Yeah, I don't remember. I didn't actually read Rick Rubin. I only listened to his audiobook, so it was a bit difficult to follow a few things. But how
Yeah, it
do
was
you
kind
go
of
about?
sorry, I
Yeah,
don't
go
mean to
ahead.
interrupt, but I
Yeah,
kind of found it a little confusing, but it was a little challenging, kind of hard to understand. Like some things made no sense, some things did, and so
yeah,
at the end of it, I was like, "What did I just read?" I don't know.
yeah,
So
yeah. I kind of took it after a while as kind of a meditational process. Like,
yeah,
I shouldn't actually try and understand it. Like, I just left it on, and whatever came to mind, I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. And the rest,
yeah,
I just didn't remember.
exactly.
But dude, he's a great guy, by the way.
He
He,
is.
I'm so very glad that I got to um, like actually see that there was a person that was entirely built on taste is a bit of a stretch, because
Yeah.
he has a lot of practical abilities. But
Hmm.
to know that there is a role where basically you're guiding people, or sometimes even guiding yourself, to just create create something based on your ability to articulate that idea, is just crazy that that's a profession.
It's insane. Like I don't know how he does it. Like it's so hard to like describe creativity almost. I don't know. It's maybe subjective or I don't know. His job isn't necessary to help whatever they're trying to do, but he helps aid in that creative process, which is honestly like no one does that. Nobody else can do that. Or maybe
Yeah,
can, but I'm saying like no one else does what he does, which is kind of insane.
yeah.
But yeah.
How do you go? Like, how do you mentioned like simplifying the idea after
Yeah.
you actually make it big, kind of.
Hmm.
How do you go about like finding the right things to cut from an idea or an essay,
Yeah.
for example?
Yeah. I think the best practice is always it's so stupidly simple, but it's so like important to just read out loud your essay. Just read it out loud. The reason why is because you're able to really examine how it sounds like to a reader. And when you're able to thinking alone, like y- you cannot think good when you're just thinking about trying to solve a problem or just, you know, thinking isn't a good way to like go about it. You have to kind of let it exist outside of yourself. So I think speaking is being able to let it exist outside of yourself. You're able to listen how it sounds, if it makes sense. Maybe this sentence is a little bit redundant. And if after I read something, I kind of just ask myself like, does this say what I'm trying to say? Is there any fluff? Is there any redundancy? And that's kind of how I go about that. But that's literally it. It's just kind of maybe there's like other ways to go about it, but for example, like you said, essay or writing, I just read out loud so that way I can actually like understand how it sounds and examine it. But how about yourself? How do you think about um simplifying? I don't remember what the question was, but what is like your take on it? Maybe my your take could be a little bit different from mine.
Dude, it's not.
No?
It's not. Yeah. And it's funny because, I have a bit of, and I think you mentioned you had to a bit of a video editing background, right?
Yeah, a little bit, tiny bit, tiny bit. I was terrible, but tiny bit.
Yeah, but dude, it's one of the best skills to have as a creative, because you actually learn to cut things and like not be precious with your ideas, because sometimes like there will be a really profound sentence that I wrote in a newsletter,
Mhm.
for example, but
Yeah,
it just doesn't fit. Like it just breaks the pace, and you have to like learn that sometimes to communicate an idea, you have to let go of being perceived as an intellectual or sounding very smart. What's your priority? Like, do you actually want to communicate something effectively, or do you want to be perceived as this intellectual?
absolutely.
And video editing kind of teaches you to do that in a hard way. It's almost a process of finding, you know how um Michelangelo, I think he mentioned that. Was it Michelangelo? Or was it Da
Yeah,
Vinci? I always confuse those two.
the statue. Or are you talking about like a story of the
David.
statue or something
Yeah,
like that? Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I think it was Michelangelo. I
But
think so.
it was Michelangelo, right?
Hmm.
Um, but he mentioned like finding David inside the marble. So it's kind of like when you're editing a video, you're kind of finding the video inside the video, if that makes sense. It's
Yeah,
it's an interesting process because a lot of people don't understand how video editing goes, but at least for me, there is the process of shooting the thing, and there is the process of editing the thing, and they are, although like they are complementary, you have to like shoot things thinking how you're going to edit, but really
hmm,
you really have to benefit um the video that it's possible, and not exactly the video that you want it to be like, if that makes any sense.
yeah, absolutely. On the story of Michelangelo, he was asked like, "How were you able to make the statue of David?" And he said, "Well, I just removed what wasn't him," and that's just kind
Yeah,
of that. When you were saying that, I'm like, "Oh, that story is so profoundly simple, but so profoundly impacting because you just got to remove what it isn't. You got to distill it down to the essence." Kind of like going back to Steve Jobs. But
dude, that's a
who?
good phrase.
Yeah, for sure, a good mantra. Who has been like your? your top three like inspirations. I feel like every it. I don't know if you read the book "Steal Like an Artist," but in it he
No,
mentions how
never mind.
I don't know. I don't remember the idea. I'll try to like articulate it really good. But he goes how down. He goes. He says that you need to go down like the family tree, or I guess the creator tree, and every person is inspired by another person, and that person is inspired by three other people. Those three other people branch out to more people, right? Ryan Holiday, he is compiled of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, and those people are inspired by these different creators. So I want to know, like, who are your like top three inspirations you take from?
That's hard. Um, there's so many of them. Like, I'd have to put Steve Jobs
Hmm.
as an obvious one for me because he was the one that kind of sparked my interest in entrepreneurship and in creation in general.
Hmm.
So definitely Steve Jobs. Um,
How did you get introduced to him, like Steve Jobs? I don't think I asked you or explained how you kind of got introduced to
yeah.
him.
So when I was 17, I think, in high school, that's when I first started to um, trying to start a clothing brand,
Yeah.
and I was having a lot of difficulties, and I um, reached out to this guy, which was older than me. He was already kind of an adult, and I was just a teenager.
Hmm.
And I knew he was big on entrepreneurship, so I basically like just you know said the problems that I was dealing with, and it was mostly like creative problems. And he
Yeah.
introduced me to Simon Sinek. I could say that he was one of the biggest ones as well, my biggest inspirations. Um, he introduced me to the concept of the golden circle and
Mm.
how these like really compelling companies, they always communicate starting with the why. So why they do what they do, right? And that's when I started to understand how Apple kind of built all of this cult following, really. So I'd say, yeah, Simon Sinek was a big one for me. I'm not sure if he is still one of my biggest inspirations, but he was for a good while.
Hmm.
um, and Steve Jobs as well.
Heck yeah. Have you heard the story where the first Apple computer actually was sold barefoot? He sold the first Apple computer barefoot. It's kind of funny. It was in the movie
Yeah,
too. It's kind of like
yeah,
just goes to show you like you just gotta be
dude.
vigorous.
Steve Jobs was kind of a not kind of he was
Yeah,
really kind of a hippie
he was. That's
dude
what I like about him.
for
Yeah.
a good while. Yeah, and it's so interesting. I was talking to this guy called Matt
Hmm.
on a DMs one of these days, and like most of the Silicon Valley at that time were people that were kind of a bit eccentric or hippies or were big on
Yeah,
LSD and stuff like that. And it's so interesting that that was the birth of a lot of the innovation that we see today. And
for
it wasn't
sure.
just a group of lab code scientists and mathematicians. No, it
Hmm.
was a bunch of hippies that were spending too much time doing LSD.
I know.
But yeah, what are your three uh, biggest inspirations? I only named two, but
Oof. Yeah, yeah. Um, Man, right now, like in this moment, number one, gosh, like I'm on the same page with you. Like it's hard. Number one, for sure, Danco. Number two, actualize.org. Number three, I'd say David Senra. I just, Danco just sparked that fire in me where I just wanted to write. I want to become future proof. I love the way he writes. He's just, it's incredible. And the
yeah,
way I learned how to actually like structure writing, not just like, uh, I don't know if he talked about this or maybe something I came up with, but like the macro outline, but also the micro outline. So it's like what specifically goes inside of it, the copywriting frameworks, um, how to hook somebody, just like the fundamentals that and I really took away on how to like actually write and persuade people, because obviously nobody cares about your ideas, so you have to make them care about what you have to say. So I think that bleeds into a lot of things: sales, presenting, YouTube videos, etc. But David Senra, for people who don't know who David Senra is, he's the podcaster of Founders Podcast, and he just talks about all the dead founders of the past, or I guess some modern ones, like he
Yeah.
including like Rick Rubin and like a few others. But he basically distills down the lessons he learned from all these biographies. I think that's an advantage that I have to take advantage. Like that's just an easy like dub or a win to be able to take away all these successful individuals and really learn just like the essence. It's kind of
Yeah.
crazy how they'll spend hours and hours on end just consuming biographies for you to just consume it in like 90 minutes. Just it's an advantage that a lot of people need to take. And
Yeah.
then
And
actualize.org, uh, I got into him from Dan Coe. I started to notice how like his ideas bled from him.
yeah.
But dude, actualize.org, I am listening to an episode on happiness, and it's good. I think you should check it out if you get the chance. But yeah, that's kind of like the top three right now.
Dude, I haven't got that much into actualize.org, but I've seen some of his videos. It sounds really interesting. The only, like, I think daunting part of his videos is that
Mhm.
like they're 2 hours long.
They're so
So
long, dude. They're so
yeah,
long.
and they have like 11 parts, so it's almost like a,
An audiobook,
a 2 seasons, yeah,
pretty much.
show. Dude, but you touched on something that I think you and me, we kind of share this passion, which is kind of studying the greats. And
Oh yeah,
it's so interesting that it was so like mind blowing for me when I realized that, the myth of the lone genius is just a myth. Like,
yeah,
they actually
yeah,
not only were not lonely, they were, interconnected with a lot of other people that were creating and innovating, but they actually studied other people that came before them.
for sure.
So, you know, I think Caesar cried on a statue of Alexander when he
Hmm.
was 24, because at 24, Alexander had, conquered half of the world, and Caesar was like, who am I? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
so interesting that, these people that we consider great, they always kind of were obsessed as well with other great people of the past, and they study them relentlessly and
Mm.
try to take their best lessons. And in this way, it's almost like sci-fi, in the way that people of the past are communicating to us in the future, and we can learn from them. It's crazy to think that.
I wrote this essay on how to compress 2,000 years of knowledge into 6 months, and the entire thesis is basically, reading. There's a story, I think it was from Zeno, that he goes, or I don't know if it was Zeno, maybe it was somebody else, but one of the Stoics. But he goes to the Oracle of Delphi. People go to the Delphi to like, kind of, I guess it's like a fortune teller maybe. But he goes to the Oracle of Delphi, and the Oracle of Delphi tells him, "You will begin to become wise when you have conversations with the dead." And at the time, he had no clue what that meant until he started to like, he was in the middle of reading and like realized like, whoa, talking to the dead is just reading books. So that's one story that really stuck with me, because I mean, you can pretty much compress what took somebody 60 years to learn. You can compress over your weekend, over the next couple of weeks, or just like, it's just a big advantage to be able to like read books and also be able to like understand what's signal versus noise. Because like, I'd say like some self-help books, maybe some are good, some are just like one idea regurgitated for like thousands of pages.
Yeah.
And it's always good to like read old books, read classics. And another thing is like David Senra. Actually, I haven't published it yet, but I created an essay on David Senra. What's funny is he, creates so many episodes on these people, but no one has ever made an episode on David himself, David Senra, the founders
Mhm.
podcaster. And so like I took it upon myself, like I gotta study this guy, like. And so one thing that really struck me was he was asked what, after reading 400 plus biographies, like if he had to distill it down to one lesson, he said this: focus. That's it. Like after reading 400 plus biographies, he learned that the number one thing is focus. And it's so true, right? Focus, attention, and flow. It's everything. Every obsessive person has that one thing. Every person has that one focal point. You know, if you look at who's successful, they're not doing 10 things. They're not doing 1,000 things. They're doing one good thing.
How do you go about choosing what to focus though?
That's good. That's a good question.
Yeah,
Choosing
because there's a
wisely.
lot of people that, sorry, there's a lot of
That's a
people
good.
that have multiple interests, and I think
Yeah. Oh
Substack is
yeah.
a great place for that. But
Hmm.
as you said, you got to focus, and that's something that we hear all the time. But how, how do you focus, in your opinion?
I think it's easy to say like what not to do. What you shouldn't do is you shouldn't um do things that obviously don't align with you. You should definitely know what you do not want, so that way at least what you're doing kind of makes sense. But to answer your question, like how do we know what to focus on? Oh, that was your question, right? Like how do we know
Yeah,
what to focus on?
yeah.
Whew. Honestly, I don't have an answer. Like I don't know how to. It's like a big question to answer. Do you know like what's your take on that? It's a big question. Like I have to think about that deeply. Honestly, out there, like
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah,
jot that
yeah.
down.
Dude, I had something in mind, but it blanked now.
I think
But it's a big question, right?
yeah,
It's a difficult one.
like what you said about polymaths. It's a good argument too. Like should you are the niche or pick a niche. I For example, like writing could be your niche, but writing is like basically almost like a polymath because writing is you're focusing on writing, right? It's one thing. But the beauty of it is that you're able to go in many directions with it. Writing isn't just writing about one topic. Writing could be about future skills, writing about focus, writing about biographies. Like there's many directions to kind of take. So I'd say like find one thing that you're able to kind of, I guess, expand it to different things. I don't know. That's kind of I don't
Mm,
know.
yeah, I just remembered actually what I wanted to. It's not actually like how do you choose what to focus, but it was kind of one big unlock for me, which is you can do anything you want. You just can do everything at once.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
if you think, you live what, like 40 more years, 50 more years, 60 more years, and you dedicate yourself to like each year executing on one idea, you have
Hmm.
possibly like 40 to 50 ideas to execute in your whole
Yeah,
life. And it's stupid how much you can make progress in 1 year of focused work,
for
you
sure.
know or sometimes, like me, for example, I struggle with focusing on just one idea for 1 year. But if I can at least break that down into 3-month periods or six
Hmm.
month periods, that's already something that can make me progress on that idea and like compound things. Because once you have too many interests and you just jump from one to another, it's very
Yeah,
easy to leave things unfinished,
yeah.
and then things just don't move forward because they don't have any momentum. So if you can at least in a 3-month period accomplish something, and that's completed,
Hmm.
that at least it's like you went up one step instead of just walking in the same step, just from left to right, and not actually climbing the ladder.
For sure. You said I want to touch on. I'm interested in what you said earlier. That you can't focus on one thing for a year. What do you mean by that? Do you mean like you can't like do just one thing for like the entirety of the year, or how do you like what do you
Yeah,
mean by that?
I struggle with that. At
Hmm.
least me.
Yeah.
Like I know people that can do, like, for sure.
Hmm.
But I struggle a lot with sticking to one thing for just a year. I realized that, at least for me, like the optimal period for me to like be really obsessed about just one thing is
Yeah.
like somewhere between like 2 to 4 months, and then I can get a lot done like in 2 to 4 months because I'm obsessed
Mhm.
about like this one thing. But
Yeah.
if I try to stretch that to 1 year, I kind of get bored, and I try to, I start to procrastinate the very thing that I chose. So it's not much use.
Yeah. Yeah. Too much of something can be bad. Like if you're just sticking to one thing, you gotta like branch out sometimes. You gotta try different things. You can't just be like stubborn, like, oh, I'm only gonna do what's this for 1 year. Like for example, right now, I mean, I'm writing I'm focusing on writing, but I also need to focus on other things. For example, I can't just be writing all the time. I gotta figure out some way to like make a living off of
Make
that or like
money.
make money
Yeah.
for yeah, like you can't just
Yeah.
focus on one thing forever. So it's a lot of different things. For example, networking, gotta code outreach, free work, freelance, I don't know, all that jazz. But
Yeah.
right now, what is like what do you mainly focus on your like day like your day to day?
Yeah. Dude, I had such a good thing to say. I forgot.
It's the worst thing. I hate when that happens. You're like trying so hard to remember it, like you just cannot.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing.
Oh man. Well, to answer your question, like right now, I'm actually at that same kind of point that you are, like trying to figure out what is the direction that I want to commit to.
Yeah.
Um, so I was building an app really,
Hmm.
and then basically then Cole pivoted his app to do the things that I was building. So that kind of got uh, thrown out of um,
Hmm.
the things that
Was
I
it when
that
Cortex was beginning to emerge,
no right
or
now.
oh, right now?
Yeah, it was like a month ago, maybe. Not even
Mm,
that, I think.
yeah.
Um, it's a mixed feeling. Like I'm super happy that there is an app that does what I wanted to do before,
Yeah.
which is kind of this finding outlier ideas and trying
Yeah.
to reverse engineer that, because that
Yeah.
was something that I already had in my uh, Claude system. So I
Hmm.
was basically like just exporting that. But
Yeah.
anyways, but I'm very tempted to have the routine of building something, and even more now with AI, like building tools or micro experiments and trying to either monetize them or just add them to some sort of paid community that people can use to build their own systems of using AI or having their own creator operational systems. That's one
Hmm.
of the things that I'm exploring, and I'm also getting back a bit into design.
Mm,
Um, Not just graphic design, but like design in general. So trying to help people that want to launch something or
yeah.
want to execute on a certain idea, and trying to like either, well, and that's a bit of a problem that I'm facing, which is choosing between like either doing for them or doing with them, which is kind of more consulting. I'm more inclined
Mm,
to consulting, but
yeah.
sometimes it requires me to do the thing actually. Um, yeah, these are like two of the paths that I'm kind of focused on right now,
How do you
or
think?
trying to focus.
Yeah. My biggest problem as a creator is like, how am I gonna make money? And like, I'm everywhere and nowhere. I'm like, should I code outreach? Should I do this? Should I do that? But what is like your advice to like, or how are you like attempting to make some money like as a creator or like as an entrepreneur? What's your like direction?
Well, I have two things, I think. Um, I never, well, I did cold outreach for a while,
Mm,
doing freelance as a graphic designer in the beginning. Never got a client, really.
yeah.
And I never really tried like too hard. Like I know that there are people like Alex Hermosi who say that you need to send like 100 DMs a day.
The Hermosi law.
You probably,
Yeah.
yeah, you'll probably
Yeah.
get a client doing that. I bet you will. Um, but for me, at least, it was always, creating about the thing
Hmm.
that I wanted to be involved with, and just suddenly like reaching out to someone directly that I knew. So I always worked with people that were kind of either already in my, social network, or were kind of right outside of it. So a friend of a friend,
Yeah.
I always got a lot of referrals to kind of get clients. So I cannot say that I know how to code outreach, but definitely like joining um, communities or places where your ideal client is was
Hmm.
a big thing for me. At least that's how I got my first client. I joined a photography face group,
Yeah.
Facebook group, and I just met a guy and we started talking, and I started editing for him.
Heck yeah. It's like yeah, it's always the warm outreach. It's like the people in your network or somebody who knows somebody or like, hey, by the way, I do this and that if you're interested or just like I don't know.
Yeah, and
I'm
it's
in that.
crazy.
Yeah.
Sorry, but just to add, and it's crazy how much like sometimes you don't know someone that is your ideal client, and you think
Yeah.
that's a problem because you cannot reach out to that person directly. But if you reach out to like 20 people that you know, and you just put yourself out there and say, hey, I'm looking for this and this type of work, do you know anyone? Like, can you refer me to anyone? Like, almost guaranteed, I always find some type of work like that. It's kind of crazy that like this type of referral actually works.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but yeah.
No, that's okay. It's okay. I think you pretty much. I honestly I forgot what I was gonna say, but yeah. Next
Sorry.
question I got for you. No, that's all right. Honestly, your answer was like way better. So walk me through like your day. What's like your like daily routine as like a creator?
Dude, I don't actually believe in having a super fixed daily routine. I think always in terms of blocks.
Mm,
So I don't time block, but
mhm.
I do like blocks of execution. So I'm either like in creative mode or
Yeah.
I'm like in research mode, which is kind of studying, tinkering with ideas, or I'm like in execution mode. And
Mhm.
that's basically how I structure my day. If I wake up feeling a bit, you know, oh, I slept bad, or I'm not really feeling too well for some reason, kind of mentally foggy, then I'll
Yeah.
push the creative stuff
Mhm.
a bit later, and I'll just focus on execution or studying something, to get that creative spark back. So I'll interchange those things based on my energy level.
I see. Besides creative stuff, what do you do outside like creativity? Do you have like any hobbies or do you work out or what kind of other stuff do you do besides like creating?
Dude, I work out, but um I don't know, man. I'm not like that's something that it's so funny in my life because I don't really consider myself to have hobbies or
Hmm.
things that I do like completely for fun. Like it's kind of all the same thing for me. I don't know
Yeah.
how to explain, but
No, yeah, yeah.
um I'm just always kind of immersed on exactly what I want to be doing, and
Yeah.
that's fun for me. Like I
Hmm.
don't really need to like get into golf right now because
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that won't help me in any scenario. So I don't really have hobbies, but fitness is a big pillar for me for sure. But I don't
Hmm.
consider it a hobby. It's much more of a practice.
For sure. Move the body yeah, yeah.
What
For
about
sure.
you?
For me, outside of like writing or creativity, walking. I love
Mm,
walking. Walking's a I don't even know if it is a hobby, but I'll consider it a hobby. Walking is
can
a
be.
big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I love walking. Right now, I haven't been walking as much as I used to just because I'm in AZ. It's like 110 degrees outside. I'm like, nah, I'm skip that. Either early in the morning or like just kind of like later in the day when sunrise or sun sets. Just because like it's too hot. Feels like you're in a sauna outside.
Yeah.
But I'll occasionally just I'll play guitar. I think that's it.
Mm, yeah.
That's it for guitar, for hobbies outside of that. But yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
that's a good one. Yeah, I'd say that as well for me. I haven't played in a while, but yeah, that might be my sole hobby as well.
for sure. It's very for me. It's
W- w-
very like grounding. It's like occasionally I'll do it. It's fun. It's just kind of for me. It's an escape for sure. I don't have to think about
Yeah,
anything. Just the
yeah.
rhythm of the music. But yeah,
What about your creative routine? Since you asked me mine.
for me, I'm the opposite. I'm very like fixed. I'm like I gotta do this at this time. I
Mm,
don't know why. I've always been like that. I think I just like I like having control. I like having the feeling of that I conquered the day or that I made some progress or like I just don't like necessarily wasting a day almost. But it has like its cons for sure. There's definitely days where like, oh, if it didn't go this way, so now I'm like beating myself up for it. So I'm
yeah.
like kind of now like more flexible about it. But I'll wake up as early as I can. Sometimes it's like 5 a.m., maybe 6 or 7. I'm trying to aim at 5, and then I'll get into like straight into just like writing. So I feel like the mornings are definitely where the least amount of distractions. And yeah, I'll do like a few hours of writing, and then I'll do a separate block of trying to move the needle. And right now, the moving the needle for me is it's hard to determine. But I know one thing: it's like I gotta help at least one person every single day. If I can help one person, then I feel like at least I move the needle for me. And I'm just trying to figure out what that other thing for moving the needle is for like that last like I don't know 60 to 30 minutes of the 4 hour work block. And like I don't know if it should be like doing a lot of cold outreach or all that stuff. So sometimes I'll fill it up with like either editing, researching, maybe like maybe I'll just walk more, go out for a little walk. Maybe I'll do like do my take my I do a lot of voice memos, so I'll take my voice memos and I'll turn them to like Substack notes. I think that's a big advantage a lot of people should do. Walk and
Yeah.
talk. It's like
Yeah.
it's the easiest thing you can do. It's a god mode habit for
Yeah.
sure. You just ramble about whatever you're interested in. It's a win-win. Walking, getting sunlight, and then simultaneously making some content. And yeah, mainly it's a lot of like my work blocks are just a lot of execution, like writing, creating, maybe researching, and moving the needle. And then the rest of the day, just mine. So that's kind of how I like to think about it. I like to do it as early as possible, so that way I leave room for like loved ones, taking an adventure or like just like living
Mm,
life almost. Just so I have like that balance. I really
yeah.
believe like I mean it's an argument that I like to take. It's like a lot of people are like grind, 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 16-hour days, or there's like work less, earn more, 4 hours of deep work. I'm more leaning toward like 4 hours of deep work and then, having the rest of the day to like rest. That's kind of like my
Yeah.
my philosophy with my day
Yeah. And it's interesting because, like, although we have some of the same kind of inspirations, our routines are very different.
for
And I
sure.
think, that just goes to show that, there is no real um, one size fits all routine.
Yeah.
It depends a lot on your lifestyle, really, and what you want to prioritize as well. Like, I know that for me, one of the reasons that I hate time blocking is because, like,
Mhm.
I have terrible time perception, so I don't
Yeah.
see time passing. Or
Mhm.
sometimes, like, I'll have a meeting in 15 minutes and I'll just think I'll have time to, go for a walk or something, and then I just miss the meeting. So
Yeah.
I never actually try to time block things. I find that modes of execution really build the momentum that I need to not like waste time.
Yeah.
Um, but it's fascinating, dude, and I'm still kind of thinking about this thing that you mentioned about work life balance,
Yeah.
because I don't know if I really believe that.
Mhm.
Um, at least for me,
Yeah.
I have a lot of difficulty like turning off.
Mhm.
Like I don't know when was the last time that I like something didn't cross my mind, work related or creativity related, or some type of idea.
Yeah.
And that's great for sure. But I keep hearing a lot about, people say, dude, you need to do this, or you need to, you know um, prioritize other things in your life. But I'm at least for me, like, I don't feel this need that people often talk about. So I always wonder like if I'll one day kind of look back and see, oh, okay, I made a lot of progress in that area of my life, but there's a lot of things that I didn't. And
Hmm.
also, is that even a problem? Like, can you actually build all the parts of your life equally and
Yeah.
in a good way? You know, these are things that I think about sometimes. But at least for me, like, I don't. I like the idea of working like focused
Hmm.
for 4 hours a day or like 2 hour blocks, which is kind of my
Yeah.
sweet spot. I don't know about like having a work life balance for me. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't
It's
know.
almost understandable. I always had that argument with myself too. It's like I can't turn off my creative brain. I'm always, throughout the day. There's a framework by Danko that I like a lot. It's like feel empty, use your mind. And I think that's in my mind. That's I'm always running out that 24/7. There's no like I'll have sometimes an off mode, but majority of the time, 75%, it's like I'm always thinking about what I'm gonna do tomorrow or what's the next thing I can progress in or like move the needle in. So I've run into a lot of burnout. I think for me, that's why I like that minimum time, like 4 hours, just so I don't like burnout. I've noticed myself where I pass a certain hour, then my work kind of deteriorates. And that
Mm.
might be different for a lot of people, but for me, it's kind of like how I've noticed how I work. So, like you kind of said, like for everyone, it's not like a one size fit all. You just kind of have to like understand yourself, how you work, and how what works for you. You might be a night owl, or you might be a morning person. You might work best in the middle of the day. Who whatever works. It's just I think what's important at the end of the day is that we all at least create things or we move the needle and focus. I think that's like an important thing that we do.
Yeah. Well, Mika just said on a comment, it's a good hack. I have
Block
that as well.
mixing.
Uh, no, well, Mika, Professor
Oh, oh,
Emerita,
oh, my
yeah,
bad,
she
my
said
bad.
about setting an alarm every so often to remind herself that to change activities. That's a good hack. I have that as well for like
Mm,
2 p.m., 4 p.m., and
oh,
11,
that's
which
cool.
yeah, they're kind of like my signals to either like change modes or
Oh,
start
that's sick.
a mode. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to try that out because I that's the thing I have difficult with. It's like when to turn it off or like when to go into this mode or that mode. But yeah, I'll have to try it
Yeah.
out some of these days.
Awesome. Dude, I'm trying to remember this idea, dude, that I wanted to share with you. I
Hmm.
just can't remember.
Was it from a post or just kind of like you just had thought about?
No, we were chatting about something here,
Mm.
and I just had this idea. It's
Try to
unfortunate.
retrace it. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I remember like 2 a.m., which
Yeah, yeah.
often happens.
Right before bed, watch. You're like, oh shit, I
Yeah,
remember. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. But
Um.
dude, last night was it last night or before that? Like it was 2 a.m. and I was thinking about um, how DNA works
Hmm.
in a sense of like DNA is it basically is programming your physical body, but it's not
Okay.
like language in a sense
Mm.
that you give a command and it interprets something. So I just went into this rabbit hole like at 2 a.m. I was sleeping, by the way. I woke up and I had this thought, and I
Oh
was
yeah.
like, let me research about that. And I just went into this rabbit hole about like the differences between like DNA and how machine learning works and how it's mostly like language and how these two things are like essentially different. So
Yeah,
these are the type of
dude.
things that
I go through the same exact thing. I don't know why or how it happens. I'm sure there's like some research behind it, but I'll be like dreaming of
definitely,
ideas in the middle of my sleep. And
yeah,
so it's just like what the heck? My just brain works in weird ways. What I had this question. So if you had all the money in the world, what would you be doing right now?
it's a vague answer. Um, I'd for sure try to like build a lot of either companies or things
Mm,
because I like I do believe that um, at least I see as one of my purposes or
yeah.
whatever. Um, beyond just having fun, which I do have, it's like being useful. So I don't want to die and not be useful.
Yeah.
So the maximum amount of people that I can influence or impact in some sort of way throughout my life, it's kind of my goal in a sense. And I do find that building things, building companies, inventing something, some type of solution, like even the smallest ones,
Hmm.
is something that, at least for me, is kind of where I see myself in, you know, in a long period of time, I would say. Or if I had any money in the world, that's probably what I would be doing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude, I remember the idea. And I
Heck
think
yeah.
it ties into that.
Okay.
Um,
What is it?
and so I would probably be building things, and one thing that I've been circling about one of these days is kind of a concept of the hunter gatherer entrepreneur.
Hmm.
And that's probably how I would want to act if I have like infinite money, which
Hmm.
is you have hunt periods and you
Yeah.
have rest periods.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah. I like that concept.
in,
Yeah.
yeah, in hunt periods, you're kind of either with your team and you're all like focused on one problem or shipping one feature or launching a product or a company, and you're like 24/7 with these guys, sometimes maybe even in person on a retreat somewhere, focused on that problem. And then you just go and you have a period of rest, which is more management and not really executing too hard on any
Hmm.
ideas, just seeing if things don't break, and um, having a bit more of a relaxed time. So I think that would be kind of the ideal routine for me if I had any money in the world.
That
What
reminds
about
you
you?
the I'll answer that. This reminds you of something first, but Naval kind of said something really similar to that, and I also have my own interpretation. Naval says like you have to work like a lion. He's like, a lion
Mm,
attacks
yeah,
for like a really fast burst of time, and then it's lazy for like a very long time. The analogy that I came up with, it's like I think a bit of it like sprinting versus like a marathon.
mm,
When you are doing, I don't know, for example, building companies or you're doing work, focus, whatever you want to like interpret it as, you sprint fast for like 90 seconds and then you rest and then
yeah,
you attack. It's just the same thing. You attack and then long periods of rest. But like, that's kind of how I think about work. That's how I go about work almost. I don't want to, do a marathon. You just like run for like miles and miles and miles and miles because I'm gonna burn out, and then I have to recover for like who knows how long, maybe like a week or so.
yeah.
But with sprinting, you like go at it for 4 hours and then you rest for the rest of the day. That's kind of like my philosophy and my interpretation of it.
That's a nice take. Um, but what would you do then with if you had all the money that you
Oh,
wanted?
that's right. Yeah, yeah. I forgot to answer that. If I had all the money in the world, I would honestly, I would still be writing essays for sure. I would probably build something physical. Maybe with wood, maybe I'd build something, build a company, build something. I would
With
say,
wood?
yeah, wood, yeah, for sure.
Interesting.
And definitely do want to influence. Definitely do want to have some sort of, knowledge to be able to pass on. Maybe just have create books or like just have uh, compile every bit of piece of wisdom and I don't know, maybe release it and to physical copy like a book and just at least I'll survive my own life. And I feel like that's kind of what would make me happy a little bit. But for
Yeah,
sure, like living somewhere grounding, I don't know, somewhere in nature. Maybe even
yeah,
build my own house. Who knows? That would be pretty cool to do.
yeah.
That's kind of like my
Did,
interpretation.
I didn't even think about that, to be honest. About like where would I live? Um it reminded me of one of these things that I for sure kind of want to contribute in a long time period, which is I think Ernest Becker kind of mentioned that idea of a. It's kind of it's not exactly a meaning making philosophy or a meaning making science,
Hmm.
but I do think that in the last what like 250 years of the Western world, we kind of stopped asking a few of the questions that what is our purpose, what gives us meaning, etc. Like, I would be happy contributing to some sort of holistic system that kind of can encapsulate all these knowledges and create some type of framework. There probably isn't like a way to just give an answer, an objective answer to
Yeah,
meaning of life or
it's hard to
the
answer.
universe, but I for sure want to contribute to some sort of compilation or I don't know, some framework or something.
Definitely like making an impact. I think like I mean Steve Jobs, like we're gonna people, not just our generation or like people in the future generation. I'm sure they're still gonna be studying Steve Jobs eventually. So I think he's a good example, like how he left a legacy that people can emulate in that direction.
Yeah, dude. How are you on time?
Time, I'm pretty
'Cause
good. I think I'm good at 1:30. Yeah, not 1:30. I'm like at an hour and a half. You go with that?
hmm
Sweet.
Yeah,
Okay.
dude.
I also wanted to
Um,
ask the people like watching, like if anybody has any questions,
yeah, I was
shoot
gonna
them in the
say that.
comment.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I think that'll be gotta interact with the people. See, 16 people. Dang.
yeah,
Like
yeah. I was surprised as well.
I know, I know.
I think
So
David said something really interesting. Um, let's see if someone shoots something.
yeah,
But like he said that it's an interesting time to be alive or something like that. Let me see if I find it.
history.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
I think we were talking about like skipping college, for example, and he mentioned that it's a good time to be alive.
100%.
Um,
We can build
it is
better.
right. I think about that a lot.
We can
Like,
just
there's a lot
make
of
stuff.
people like blaming, and I get that as well. Like, you can blame social media and blame a lot of the problems that technology, social media, and like big
Mhm.
tech caused. But as well, like, we never had so much leverage before. It's
Dude,
crazy.
it's
It's
crazy.
yeah,
I know. I think there's actually one person business that did $1 billion. I think last month I hit a billion. I don't know. I was like,
yeah. I saw
damn.
that
It
too.
was inevitable that was gonna happen. I think that's what like Dan said too, where he's like, it's an eventually, we hit the million, but somebody hit 1 billion. I was gonna say something, I totally forgot. Shoot. Oh yeah, yeah. What's like your writing process? Like, how do you go about writing? Like, do you have a system for it? Or like, is it
I
occasional? Is it every day?
Yeah, I do have a system. I don't always follow it. I'm
Hmm.
terrible at following my own advice sometimes,
Yeah.
but my main system is just really simple, and I think I based uh, on the Encode system. I'm pretty much sure of it,
Hmm.
but I don't remember exactly where. But it's basically like every time I have an idea, I just think of what problem does that solve? What's the objective of the text? And like, what are the solutions, or um, what is the belief maybe that I'm trying to change, if not solutions?
Yeah.
It's like really simple. I have a few frameworks as well to kind of structuring each section, but
Hmm.
like it doesn't really matter after you kind of get a sense of you know starting with a problem, stating a aspirational dream or outcome, and then
Yeah.
you just have to build arguments and a conclusion. It's not, at least for me, too crazy.
How long do you usually spend like when you write? Just gives like a long burst or.
Yeah, I've been trying to make it more fast,
Hmm.
but I don't think it works for me. Like, writing fast, I like taking my
Hmm.
time. Like, I'll spend a week or two in one newsletter
Yeah.
sometimes, like
Yeah,
researching, editing, thinking it through. Yeah,
this last week, I didn't post a newsletter last week just because I think because I wasn't satisfied with the way I wrote, what was the title again? Oh, It Takes a Genius to Be Simple. I wrote an essay on that, and I wasn't satisfied with it, so I just like, I'm gonna take my time on editing this, maybe like make it a little bit better. So kind of how I go about that. But
yeah,
I usually will make sure with the idea, I always make sure it's piquing my curiosity. It's always exciting because I don't want to. I made the mistake of like midweek, I'm writing about an idea and like it's not satisfying. I'm never gonna make that mistake again because like why waste your energy on something that's not gonna excite you? So always make sure the idea is piquing your curiosity.
yeah,
Then my system's always evolving. Either I brain dump first everything I know on that idea, and then I'll like create an outline, or maybe I'll create like a rough outline and then brain dump, and then do research added to the outline, and then brain dump it more. Then I'll edit, finalize it, etc. I'll like chat with AI a little bit just to like see missing angles or see what the gaps are, see what I can improve on. Paradoxes, uncomfortable truths, problems, things I can't like. Obviously, I'm only one person, so I can only come up with one perspective. So research is crucial for
yeah.
sure. But yeah, the
You
goal.
mentioned. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, no.
Oh, I was gonna read off Micah's thing. She said, "What goals do you have for the next 5 years?" But go ahead and say what were you saying first, and
Okay,
then we'll
yeah,
we'll
yeah.
go into Mika.
But like one thing that you mentioned that I also do, and it helped a lot with my newsletter, is just
Mhm.
voice memos. Like it's
Oh
crazy
yeah.
how sometimes I'll just have an idea and I'll just pretend that I'm a public speaker or I'm being interviewed, and I'll
Hmm.
just record a voice memo talking about it, and then I'll transcribe it and turn it into a outline so I can see like
Mm.
what I was on to, and then I transform that into a newsletter. That's a really good hack.
That's smart. That's smart. I'll have to try that because I usually
Yeah,
will only do it at my desk, but I feel like we get more profound ideas as walking. I mean, I don't know. Something about walking just gives you more
yeah.
profound ideas. What are
Um,
yours like? We'll answer Mika's question, then we'll
yeah.
we'll we'll end this.
Wrap up.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up. What's
What are you
like
going to ask my?
so Mika said, what goals do you have for the next 5 years?
Hmm,
Hmm.
I'm terrible at that question. I don't
I
set goals. I don't set goals that far, to be honest. I
Yeah.
can I answer first.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I don't set goals for like more than a year. Sometimes two,
Hmm.
if I have like a really good perspective, like I had with my brand. I knew I just had to do that for a year, so I know that I could set a goal for 2 years because 1 year was already blocked. But I mainly set goals for like 6 months period or a year if I'm feeling big, really confident. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
honestly, I'm just trying to make it through the day. I'm just kidding. I'll, I know.
yeah,
I'm the same way. Like next 5 years, I don't know what I want, but I know what I don't want. That's like more easier to answer,
yeah,
just
yeah,
because I don't know. I'm not like, oh, in 10 years I want to be in this position or doing this because I'm evolving. Everyone's evolving. Things, tastes can change. But for sure, like you, I know probably the next 12 months, I know for sure what I'm going to do.
yeah. Me
But
too.
David,
What motivated you guys to stream? It's kind of cool. Oh, there was a previous one. What do you guys do in a daily normal life? Oh, that's
uh,
my daily normal life right now.
and
It's
for
kind of
me,
that,
oh,
being
sorry, go ahead.
unemployed.
Oh, you're lucky. I still work a part-time job, but I'm just trying to
Yeah,
escape it, but obviously figure some stuff out. But right now I'm a barista at a coffee shop, and then
really.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
so cool, dude. I wanted to
it's
be a
cool.
barista, by the way.
Yeah,
I
you
worked
should.
at a coffee shop as the creative director.
No way.
That was last year.
Sick. How was it being? I
Yeah.
was looking into being a creative director. How was that?
It was fun. It was like lots of fun for me at least because it touched on a lot of things that I like doing, like building things and coming up with ideas and just making sure that the vision is coming across. Um, but I also realized that having a team of like A players, like Steve Jobs always said, it really makes a big difference. Like you don't want to be, and not like to diminish anyone, but you don't want to be hand holding
Yeah,
the person that you just asked to do something, right? That takes
yeah,
time from you. That doesn't learn. That doesn't let the person learn, and like both people just suffer from that. So it, it, it was fun, but it can get a bit messy if you aren't surrounded by the right group of people.
yeah. I'm in the boat where I'm trying to figure out a way how the heck I'm gonna escape it. But it's like it's hard because like I've been out there for quite some time, so it's kind of good to try something new to just
Mhm.
switch it up a little bit. I've drinking too much coffee at this point. Then I need to cut
Yeah,
it off.
yeah, yeah. Oh no, I'm not cutting it off, dude. I'm not
Now,
cutting it off. No,
have you?
definitely
Are
not.
you into nootropics by chance?
Dude, I'm not. Just
No,
just coffee. Yeah.
coffee. I'll
Yeah.
throw L-theanine and black coffee to it. Insane
Yeah.
focus. Yeah,
Oh, I
yeah,
didn't know that. Might have to try
yeah.
it.
It doesn't give you the jitters. You're just like so like,
Really?
yeah.
Oh, that's fun. That's fun. That's something I could appreciate, I think. It's so funny because like two of my biggest inspirations, which are Albert Camus, the
Mm,
philosopher, and
yeah,
David Lynch, like they were both like really big on coffee. So I'm like, yeah, there. That's the secret of life, like coffee
100%.
and creating things.
That's just I don't know. They just go hand in hand. Like you have to.
It does, dude. It does. There was some. I'm pretty sure there was some evidences that coffee was used as kind of a ritual in some religions to kind of
Mm,
have spiritual like or creative experiences. I don't remember where, but I did saw that. So
I believe it.
I'm not.
It's just like a cue for me. It's like a cue to
Yeah,
like, oh, we're getting getting into some stuff. Let's see, what else do they say? Say being a barista is a good part. Easy to move. Oh yeah, I think maybe if I try to move to a
yeah,
different coffee shop, why not? Seems like a good idea.
yeah,
Says, Haniel, I didn't get it. What do you do in your daily normal life?
yeah.
Hmm.
So right now, David. So I left my job as a creative director about 6 months ago, and I was
Lucky.
basically like living off of what I had saved, and right now it's running out. So I'm also like doing some freelances, and that might be like video editing or some graphic design or helping someone, some creator sometimes. Um, it's mainly that. So it has been a lot of different little things, mainly to kind of have something to go by, I guess.
Yeah. Sweet. All right. Sweet. Well, let's come to a close. Thank you
Yep.
everybody for tuning in. 17 people. I didn't. I thought there would only be like I don't know a little bit of people, but thank you guys for tuning in. Daniel, thank you
Yeah.
for
Thank
having me.
you. Thank you, Jesse, David, that stuck to the end. I think Mick as well,
Thank you guys.
and
Thank you, Mick.
Alex and Matt. Awesome, dude. It was great to meet you. And dude, I'm sure we got to do these things more often.
We will. Well, we'll talk soon. We got to talk about more stuff.
Awesome. I actually have an idea to share with you later. But
Sweet. Yeah.
see ya.
Shoot me the DM. All right, man. Well, take care.
Bye.